Syracuse is meandering in no man's land right now. Its last 6 games have been a seesaw. Embarrassment at North Carolina, a wire-to-wire win at Pittsburgh, a buzzer beater against Miami, a second-half no-show against Florida State, a stifling defensive beatdown of NC State, and then a letdown at Boston College on Tuesday. So now the Cuse head down to Winston-Salem to take on Wake Forest, a team that is 11-0 at home. Can the Orange muster a big-time road win, or will they crumble against the Deeks? We're here to break it all down. It's Cuse Countdown. It starts right now. Welcome into the CitrusTV studio. Sam Reis, Avin, Austin Barach here. We're talking Syracuse men's basketball and its matchup against Wake Forest. But before we get there, guys, we got to talk about the letdown at Boston College. 80-75 loss against the Eagles. First time in 6 years that they lost to BC. It was about due. Adam, what went wrong for the Orange against the Eagles in Conti 4?
Is everything an option?
Sure.
Because it wasn't a great showing from the Orange. I mean, you start off defensively. You're giving up 80 points. They don't do a great job when they give up that much, especially when they're letting that team shoot it so efficiently from three, a team that they haven't lost to in 6 years. So.
Yeah, I mean, the crazy thing about this is these two teams met 20 days before the rematch at Conti Forum, and Syracuse held BC to its fewest points of the season in that encounter, 59. But then what happens in this game? BC has its best shooting game of the season, going 60% from the field, 10 for 20 from three. And then on the Syracuse side of things, they were just very poor on the offensive side at the line in particular, just going 7 for 14.
Yeah, Syracuse couldn't catch a bucket, but it was a really deflating loss defensively, especially, Austin.
I mean, you look at some of these numbers right here, guys. I mean, look at that. Little brother takes the win. Yeah. Rebounding battle, I mean, that's huge right there. When Syracuse doesn't win the rebounding battle, they pretty much lose every shot.
Yeah, you don't have a Jesse Edwards to go up against Quinn and Post, and Malik Brown can only hold his own so much. Syracuse needed to have another big guy step up, and that wasn't the case.
Big 21-0 run, as you see, but at the end of the first half and the start of the second half, and after the game, head coach Adrian Autry said it was pretty much what SU didn't do that led to the loss.
It was really more about what we didn't do. You know, again, the same way they played up there. You know, our defense just didn't do the job that we did the first time around. You know, again, Harris had 5 threes. You know, they had 10 threes as a team. I thought that was a difference.
I mean, guys, Syracuse late to closeouts, not playing help defense. It seems like it's been an ongoing issue, Sam, for this Orange team this season.
It has been, and this game in particular stood out to me because there were multiple instances, even in the first few minutes of the game, and then on that stretch where BC went on a 21-0 run, where there was just a lot of sloppy giveaways at him on offense, just some lackadaisical passes that led to some opportunities in transition for the Eagles, particularly early on, and then just some poorly executed man-to-man defense at times as well, not closing down on the perimeter often enough in that BC game where the Eagles were knocking down shots, and it's been a trend as of late as well.
100%. There's been a lot of confusion on the court, I think, and it speaks to that inconsistency I talked about a little bit earlier with the shooting, but now also on the defensive side of the ball. The zone tendencies seem to still be a little bit there from this formerly Jim Boeheim squad, right? The coach that Adrian Autry grew up under, played under, and right. I think there is still a little bit of that confusion there, especially you look at a guy like Judah who goes and tries to reach for a lot of steals, blows past an offensive player, and then another guy has to step up and help, and then a guy in the corner is wide open for a three. Yep. So they got to get together and figure it out.
The defense has not been great, but who has been great recently is Notre Dame transfer J.J. Starling. 26 points, a career high last week against NC State. He's been averaging 18 points per game over his last 5. Sam, it's kind of a mini renaissance for Starling.
It's unbelievable. I mean, he's basically like a whole new player, guys. Yeah. I mean, it was kind of unreal. We understood all the hype coming in. Former 5-star recruit from the Syracuse area, had a solid freshman season at Notre Dame, and then all of a sudden he was just not playing well at all in the first few months of the season, really. But then all of a sudden, as of late, he is playing with a swagger that is unrecognizable. That shot is just smooth and pure, Adam. He's very comfortable, whether it's the mid-range or even the three-point game. I mean, he made 4 threes in the last game against BC. That was half of Syracuse's triples. He's playing with a ton of confidence at the moment.
I think the thing that's interesting, too, to remember is when he was being recruited to Syracuse by Adrian Autry originally, he was known for his shooting, right? That's how he got recognized in high school.
100%.
And he's been working a lot with Coach McNamara, Jerry McNamara, obviously, with JJ and Chris Bell. He said have been working a lot shooting the 3-ball, and it's showing in the games right now. When JJ's on a roll, Syracuse, it provides a bunch of energy to the rest of his team, and it seems like almost everyone is making shots.
Well, it seems like nobody's making shots when Syracuse goes on the road, and that's what they'll have to do, obviously, at Wake Forest. The Cuse just 2-4 away from home in true road games this season, and get this 1-4 at true road games on campuses, because the Georgetown game, they don't have a basketball arena on their campus. I mean, guys, it seems to be a thing where Syracuse just, they can't get it going when they're away from the Dome.
Yeah, they're missing almost every shot they take when they're on the road, and they have not been performing well, especially on offense. And that energy is just not there for that Syracuse team. It's been really frustrating to see them go on the road and play this way. You look at that last game against Boston College especially, there was a whole crowd of orange. It was basically a road game, and I don't know if it got to their heads or something, but it didn't feel like that at all.
I mean, yeah, you look at those true road games this season, it's not the most surprising thing in terms of that 2-4 record, because I'm not the guy who makes excuses, but it is a very young team, and 2 of those losses on the road were at UNC and Duke, which you expect. But you're right, that BC game, that's a whole nother level of, what is going on here. Because Austin, you and I are both Boston area natives. I mean, that team is made fun of. That's not a true road game, as Adam said.
Exactly, and this Syracuse team has been made fun of on the road time and time again. They'll have a chance this Saturday to prove the doubters wrong when they take on a Wake Forest team that's, again, 11-0 at Joel Memorial Coliseum. After the break, we're talking about Wake Forest. They have a lot of good players: Spoopy Miller, Cameron Hildreth, and Hunter Sallis, and a lot more. Wake Forest up next. We preview the Demon Deacons.
Dad, they took over my bedroom. Come on, come on. Okay, Dad. 1, 2, 3. You saved me. Dad?
Are you okay?
I'm fine, dear.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
Hey there, welcome back to the CitrusTV studios. Austin Barach, Adam, Avin, Sam Reis here with you, previewing Syracuse and Wake Forest. And guys, this is a team that ousted Syracuse from its season a year ago, just 4 days after SU triumphed on its senior night, and Hakeem Mork and Jerry McNamara had their jerseys retired. They go to Greensboro, North Carolina, a place that Jim Boeheim hates, and they beat the Orange there on a last-second buzzer-beater shot from Davion Williamson. Adam, a thriller of a game, and after that, Jim Boeheim was done. So these two teams have some serious recent history with each other.
I remember it like it was yesterday. What a sad way for Jim Boeheim's tenure as head coach of the Orange to end. But that game was kind of doomed from the start, I feel like. Joe Girard had only 9 points in that one, Jesse Edwards just 12. So your two best players weren't scoring like they should. But besides that, it was honestly a pretty good scoring day for Syracuse. The issue was they couldn't stop the other team.
It was a very weird game because you mentioned some of those stats right there. This was out of nowhere also an insane game for Benny Williams, actually, believe it or not. I mean, he randomly had a double-double with 18 points, 11 rebounds. Syracuse also was lights out for 3 in this one, 10 for 17, but it still wasn't enough for the Orange, and yeah, just kind of a sad ending to Jim Boeheim's career.
It really, really was. As we look at what happened here in last season's matchup in the ACC tournament, Tyree Apple be a big part of that. He had the assist to Williamson right there. I mean, you're right. The numbers kind of back and forth. The rebounding was close, and a lot of those 10 3-pointers, Sam, was from Benny Williams.
Yeah, again, like the whole season, similar to this year, he was just extremely inconsistent, struggling a lot, and then all of a sudden had this great performance, but it wasn't enough.
Well, as we look at Wake Forest this season, they just came off of a loss, 77-72 at Pittsburgh, who used to be bad. Now they're kind of good. Sam, kind of a struggle for Wake to score the basketball in the second half.
Yeah, it was an odd game for the Demon Deacons because they went into the halftime locker room with a 10-point advantage and then folded in the second half, allowing 50 points in those final 20 minutes. And I'll tell you what, we've already hinted at how good Wake Forest is as a three-point shooting team, which we'll get into more of later. But it was an uncharacteristically poor three-point shooting performance in this one. They were just 6 for 22 from beyond the arc, and ultimately that's what really hindered them down the stretch and allowed the Panthers to come back and win.
It was a really weird game for me, which is why I have a hard time analyzing the Syracuse team, because Wake Forest, who shoots the ball really efficiently from 3, lost to a Pitt team who beat Duke, but Syracuse swept in the regular season. So it really doesn't make sense. But but like Sam, you said, Cameron Hildreth, one of their stars in the big 3 that Wake Forest has, just 4 points. They didn't shoot the ball super efficiently like they normally do, almost 40% from 3 from their biggest stars on that team. But Pitt had their way with them, Austin.
They certainly did, but you know, if there's anybody who can get this Demon Deacons team to turn around, it's their head coach, Steve Forbes. He's in his 4th season in Winston-Salem. It's his 35th consecutive year of coaching at any level. Sam, I mean, this guy, he's got some buzz going right now in the program.
He does, and understandably so, because for really the last decade plus, this program has been in a very bad spot. In fact, Wake Forest has strung together back-to-back winning seasons for the first time in 13 years. So that's the turnaround we're talking about. And with Forbes at the helm, he's really settled the ship, dare I say. And he had prior success as well. He led an East Tennessee State team in his final season there to their first 30-win season in program history. They would have been in March Madness, but COVID canceled that off. So this is a guy with a resume, and he's getting this team in the right direction, Adam.
Forbes got the opportunity to coach the Demon Deacons for a reason because of what he did. He was an assistant in the SEC. He was an assistant on that Wichita State team with Fred VanVleet back in the day. So he does have some accolades, to his name. But very minor success again for Wake Forest under Forbes so far. Hopefully, this is the year where they can finally make that tournament and work their way up the ACC.
Well, Forbes, part of his success, he reached into the transfer portal. He got guys like Boopy Miller from Central Michigan and Hunter Salas from Gonzaga. They make up 2 of that big 3 that you guys were mentioning, Adam. This is a big 3 with Hildreth as well that's been really productive, especially scoring the basketball.
They have 3 players in the top 17 of the country, in the conference, and they score the ball so well, especially from 3. I can't harp on that enough. It's very rare you have 3 best players on the team shoot that well of a percentage from deep, and for a Syracuse team that's been struggling on the road defensively, they need to put pressure on the 3-point shooters, and I'm not so sure if it's going to be enough to stop them.
I'm not sure either, and I mean, for this Wake Forest team to share the wealth the way these 3 guys do is huge, and honestly, Hildreth was that one regular starter last year and returner that you felt like was going to make a big impact. But with a guy like Hunter Salas, he only played limited minutes with Gonzaga off the bench, only averaged less than 5 points a game. And then Boopy Miller, he only played 4 games for Central Michigan last year dealing with an injury. Both of them have come onto the scene and have made a massive impact for this Demon Deacon squad.
I mean, Miller's a dog. He played injured entering this season. But you guys mentioned the special 3-point shooting that this Wake Forest team has. So, fellas, break it down.
Austin, Syracuse is one of the best 3-point defending teams in all of the ACC, but if you looked at their close loss against Boston College last week, you wouldn't have known. Let's take a look at some of their bad defensive plays against Boston College. You see here, Sam, middle of the first half, player gets left wide open at the top of the key. Complete confusion by the defense.
Right, this is off an inbounds pass. All 5 Syracuse players well inside the free throw line extended, and that leaves Donald Hand wide open. That cannot happen on a set play like that.
And this was a theme that continued all game. Boston College was just on a roll. Devin McLaughlin wide open on the top of the left wing. Benny over here, JJ guarding Quinton Post, a complete mismatch. 9 times out of 10, a player that wide open is going to knock down that shot.
Absolutely. Both Starling and Williams too focused on Post. Wide open McLaughlin making no mistake. So what Syracuse can't afford in its next game is to make those mistakes, because the Orange are going up against a red-hot 3-point shooting team in Wake Forest, one of the best in the ACC, and we're going to show you why they're so effective from downtown. Let's roll the tape here for a game against North Carolina pretty recently, about a week and a half ago, and this was late stages of the first half, and the Demon Deacons have possession. You see Reed dribbling towards the left wing, hands it off to Hildreth, and then Reed, he's the one who sets a screen here, and out to the corner comes Monsanto. The defender can't get there quick enough. It's a quick release, and with a good Wake Forest shooting team, they're going to make those shots, and we saw that right there.
I mean, great ball movement, great play design, and an even better finish on the 3 by Monsanto. And Wake Forest is a team that can highly efficiently shoot those threes, and Syracuse has to contest those shots if they want to stay in the game.
Good stuff, guys. After the break, we're playing a game that we've never played before. Stick with us. You don't want to miss it. Welcome back to the CitrusTV studio. Sam Reis, Adam Avin, Austin Barach here. We're playing a new game. Everybody's heard of the game apples to apples, right? You throw in an adjective and you see what you got in the cards and you pick something that makes sense. Well, I got an orange in my hand, not an apple. So we're playing oranges to oranges. You know, I'll be tossing out 3 adjectives, and you guys have to give me a Syracuse player who you think fits that adjective for the upcoming game here. So first of all, we're going to clutch. Clutch is the first adjective here. Adam, who do you think is clutch on this team?
Typically, if I had a bunch of cards, I'd be shuffling through them right now and picking in this game. But I'm going to say Chris Bell. He's the guy I'm going with, because when they have needed someone to step up and make 3-point shots, he's been the guy. Chris Bell's what do you mean? Chris Bell is a player who Jim Boeheim called the best, maybe the best shooter he's ever coached. And that was a real Jim Boeheim quote. You can fact check me, look it up. But he's also been a lot smarter about the shots that he's taking, which I think is really important too. We talked about the inconsistency from three from the whole team, especially Chris Bell over the past 2 seasons. But honestly, over the past few games, you can look at that Miami game, for example. Chris Bell stepped up big and really helped the Orange. That's why I'm going with Chris Bell. He's clutch.
Well, know who's really clutch and truly clutch? That's J.J. Starling. We've been talking about him, how he's been in a groove as of late. And you know, you look at it, that Miami game that you just brought up, sure, Bell was great, but Starling was 6 for 10 from downtown in that one. He had 4 triples against NC State, 4 in the loss to BC. Even if you include that Florida State game where he didn't make a 3, he's over 40% from downtown in the last 4 SU contests. He's been in a groove. He's been clutch for this team, especially from downtown.
You know, this is a tough one, but I'm going with J.J. Starling here as the Orange is starting to get peeled. I just think he's a better road player. Chris Bell likes some home cooking. It'll be tough for him to do it on the road. So Sam gets the first point there. Our next adjective is trustworthy. It's a term that a lot of players can't really identify with so far this season. Sam, who do you think is trustworthy?
It's got to be Judah Mintz at the end of the day. I mean, this is obviously a young team, but Judah Mintz is the leader of this team for a reason. He came back for another year, his sophomore year, and he has shown some maturity overall, I think. I mean, you look at even these last few games when maybe he hasn't been at his best offensively, he's still a consistent scorer who's going to be that guy that gets you points on the board for Syracuse. But even if he's not, I look at that Miami game, for example. He only scored 10 points, but he dished out 13 assists. That was a career high at him. So he's been more unselfish as the season has progressed, and that's why he is the most trustworthy player on this team, Adam.
But I know when you think trustworthy, guys, you think offense, you think scoring, but that's not what trustworthy ultimately means. You got to look at their all-around player. Ooh. That's why I'm taking Malik Brown. Malik is a guy who was started off the year on the bench just like last year. There's been inconsistency at the center position. Naheem McLeod got injured. He's out for the rest of the year. You also have Munir Hima and Peter Carey who've been in and out of the lineup. Malik Brown has been the one centerpiece at the 5 that Adrian Autry knows he can trust, especially on the defensive end. He averages just over 2 steals per game, and he also scores efficiently. He's the only big guy on the team who really does that. That's why I think Coach Autry trusts Malik Brown the most, especially against the Demon Deacons.
You're speaking my language, Adam. I mean, Malik Brown is my guy. I mean, he rarely makes mistakes. Flirts with double-doubles. He's so solid. He's shooting like 71% from the field this season. So Adam ties it up here, 1 apiece. You guys are really, it's a battle for this mostly over half-peeled Orange right now. The winner gets a big slice out of this one. So here's the final one for all the marbles or all the cards, as you say. Adam, I'll go to you here. Costly, the third and final adjective. Who is costly on the Syracuse team?
Well, I'm going to go with the player that you just talked about last. I'm going to talk about Judah Mintz here because he's the best player on this team. And I know I might not think he's the most trustworthy because he has shown signs that there is a little bit of sloppy play a little bit. I mean, we know he can score, we know what he can do, but I think if you have the best player off the floor in a crucial game, like if they get into foul trouble or if they're shooting poorly, which Judah has shown that happens sometimes, we know what he can do. I think having Judah off the floor will be crucial, so I hope he steps up and he plays the right way, but if he's off the floor, it's not going to be good whether he plays at his top or at his low game.
Well, a guy that would be costly to lose, and he's your guy, Austin. That's Malik Brown.
We switched.
We did switch, but I think I'm on the right side of this one because, listen, Brown's a guy, you mentioned his defensive presence. He's also a big presence on the glass, usually leading the team in rebounds. He needs to be out there on the floor. I mean, he had double-digit boards against both Miami and Florida State recently, and he's a guy who can also provide a spark on the offensive end. I mean, he was a big reason why Syracuse was in that game at the end against BC with 10 second-half points. And I'll tell you what, he also toes the line with that aggressive defense. He was up to 4 fouls in the last 4 games, so he's a key player to stay on that floor because Syracuse needs him in the final moments, Austin.
Guys, I'm pretty confused by both of your arguments. Maybe a fully peeled Orange will help me decide.
Okay. Oh, man.
Ultimately, though, I gotta go with Malik Brown. I mean, Malik Brown talk, it works for me.
Go.
So, Sam, here's the Orange. Take
You
a
won.
bite out of that. It's really good citrus. I mean, vitamin C is important these days. You don't get a whole lot of sun in
Gotta go,
Syracuse. Actually, that's
gotta
vitamin
go
D.
all out.
Can someone get the broom?
Oh my
after?
gosh,
Can
this is
someone...
a mess.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, clean up on
We
aisle
need the
8.
broom.
Holy cow. Okay.
That was
Come on.
Well, we'll take a quick break right now as we get the crew to clean that up. After a few minutes, though, we'll be talking about the Syracuse women's basketball team that just lost at Louisville, and we'll give an upcoming preview to the Syracuse men's basketball schedule. Don't want to miss it. That was a whole lot of fun. We're back at the desk now. Austin Barach, Sam Reis, Adam Avin here, closing up shop on Cuse Countdown. Before we finish with the men's team, let's dive into the women's team for a little bit. Top 25 matchup at the KFC Yum Center tonight against Louisville, and Syracuse first 2-game losing streak of the season, fellas. Lost 81-69. Adam, it's a disappointing stretch right now. 2 tough games in a row, but on the wrong end of both of them.
It just so happens their toughest stretch of the season is coming right now as they're trying to make this tournament push. They just got ranked 21, their highest under Felicia Leggett-Jack as head coach. I really do have faith in the Syracuse Orange team because of what they can do offensively. They are also good on the defensive end, especially from the guard position with Deasia Fair and Elena Reis doing it all. But I mean, tonight, the thing that was most glaring for me, Sam, especially against this Louisville team, was that Syracuse shot better from 3 than they did overall.
Right.
When does that happen? They missed so many shots. They shot 30% from the floor today. And if you're going to have a game like that, after leading for most of it, you're not going to end up winning.
No, and you know what's a stat that's not even up there? The free throws. I mean, these are the fundamentals of basketball, and you want to know what Syracuse went at the line? 11 for 23. You put me at the line, I think I'm making 1 out of every 2 shots at least.
I don't know.
I think I can. Come on, Austin.
Okay.
You're underrating my abilities. But my point is, I mean, it was just a rough night at the line. 12 misses at the line. What did they lose by? 12.
Free throws matter.
Free throws matter. Hashtag free throws matter. Speaking of Louisville, after this Wake Forest game, the men's team hosts Louisville on Wednesday night. And then after that, guys, it gets really good. Joe Girard coming to town a week from this Saturday, his return, the 5th year. And then after that, North Carolina, they just lost at Georgia Tech, who has one heck of a resume, by the way. So after Wake, Louisville, and then Clemson and Carolina at home, it's a pretty key stretch of the season, to say the least, Sam.
It is. I mean, it's now or never for the Syracuse team. And the thing is, realistically, if you're this team, you want to take care of business in these next 3 games. You know, after Wake, you mentioned it, you have those 3 straight home games. Louisville, certainly a beatable team. The return of Joe Girard will be interesting. North Carolina, I don't think Syracuse has a chance, but that's the issue for the Orange, Adam, because that's the last ranked opponent left on Syracuse's schedule. And if we're talking any tournament hopes, they still haven't recorded a statement win. It's going to have to be that game, and I hate to break it to you, I don't think it's happening.
Nowadays, everyone talks about the net rankings with the quad 1 wins
hate
and all
it.
of that. It's
Enough
too
of
much.
that.
Sometimes it's a bit much for me. But I think we can tell just by the eye test what is a really good win for Syracuse. And Wake Forest is just going to be the start of that. Like you said, Austin, with that tough stretch coming up of Louisville, Clemson, North Carolina, Joe Girard, Armando Bacot back at the Dome.
Yeah.
I mean, we got a lot of faces that are coming through Syracuse, and I'm excited to see what the Orange can do. I'm just not sure they're all going to result in wins.
Yeah, that Carolina game last year was a Tuesday night at 9 p.m. tilt. This one, thankfully, not. And Bacot established his dominance against old friend Jesse Edwards. Obviously, he's at West Virginia now. But that's in the past. That's rather in the future. Right now, let's focus on this game at Wake Forest. Syracuse 5-5 in the ACC at the midway point in the ACC slate. Adam, as I talk to you right now, tell me, does Syracuse get it done? Can they finally go on the road and pick up a marquee win?
It hurts me to say this because there are very few times that I do pick against Syracuse. I know you called me a homer. I promise I'm not. I try to be as objective as possible. That's why I'm picking Wake Forest to win this one, 73-69. And it's purely because we know how good Syracuse is at guarding the three-point shot, but I honestly think that Wake Forest just shoots too efficiently, like we've been talking about all day. And I think that they're going to get the ball rolling early. If Syracuse plays from behind, that's where they do struggle the most. So they need to make sure that if they do want a chance of winning, they play some good defense and make their shots. But I think ultimately the Demon Deacons get the job done.
Well, that's the thing with this Wake Forest team. I mean, they're a squad averaging north of 80 points a contest. And so a key for Syracuse is slowing them down from beyond the arc early on, because the last thing you want to do is be playing catch up from behind. That's not going to be a recipe for success. I think Wake Forest bounces back after a rough three-point shooting performance against Pitt. Give me the Demon Deeks, 82-75. Syracuse struggles on the road continue.
So you guys are saying this is going to, I'm sorry, you guys are going to squash the Oranges. That's too bad. I can't make a prediction. Sam Reis, Adam Avin, Austin Barach. Thanks for watching. Shout out our producing team. 745 Sill in Winston-Salem. We'll see you then.